Alright guys, so today we're checking out the brand new Rolling Stones edition of the V-Moda Crossfade 2 wireless headphones. Now I think in a time that we're in right now, there is a lot of people that are going back and wearing those vintage band t-shirts from like the 60s, 70s. You see a lot of people with Led Zeppelin t-shirts and AC/DC and even the Rolling Stones, where I can see why this is a very good time for V-Moda to release the Rolling Stones edition, because obviously if you're a fan of the band, you would be interested in these. But if you're just somebody that enjoys music but likes that look of that vintage rock era, I think this is a really nice looking pair of headphones. Now they actually do have these in 3 different versions. Now I have the classic logo, it's just the clean, simple look. But they also have a no filtered version, which gives it a little bit more of a distorted look, and then a tattoo edition, which makes the logo look like a tattoo. And again, if you're not familiar with the Rolling Stones, definitely go and just check out some of their music. They've spanned across, I believe, 60 years at this point. And I think that in itself is pretty impressive for a band to last that long. So we are actually going to check out the headphones themselves and talk more about the specs. We're going to talk about what all comes inside the box and the sound and all of the features, and see if this is still worth a pretty hefty price tag. And I think we're going to start right there. I think V-Moda's approach on these has been that if it ain't broke, don't fix it, because the original Crossfade 2 wireless came out in 2017. And they originally came in at $290. And at the time, that was a very competitive price point. But in 2018, they released a Codex edition, which was only available in rose gold. And that pair had aptX playback. But that pair also jumped up to $350, which made them quite pricey. But with the Rolling Stones edition, they kept that Codex edition. So this is a version that was released in 2018. And they did drop the price all the way back down to $279. And this makes it a little more competitive, but throughout this video, we're gonna talk about some of the things that these headphones have, and you'll see why I think they need to upgrade and update some of their features to be a little bit more competitive against headphones in this price range today. Now, one of the things that I really enjoy about this pair of headphones, and a lot of you may not even be interested in checking them out this way, is this pair is high-res audio certified if you use them in wired mode. And I think they sound absolutely fantastic in wired mode. This pair can definitely handle all kind of power if you want to plug these into amps, and then just really open up the possibilities with these headphones. But if you do use them in wireless mode, like I said, these do have aptX playback. I didn't notice any kind of compression with the audio, and this is one of those pairs of headphones where in wireless mode, it sounds very close to using these in wired mode. Now, a lot of people that are audio purists definitely prefer to use their headphones just plugged into an amp, but there's a lot of situations where you can't do that. And so being able to use these in wireless and still get a sound signature that's close to what it is if you use them in wired is a huge plus. Now, speaking of the cable, it does come with a Kevlar cable that has a little control box located on it. This is also where the microphone's located if you're using these in wired mode. It's also where you would have your controls. But if you're going to use them in wireless mode, all of your controls are located right there on the right ear cup. Now on the right ear cup, you do have the power button, it's basically a slider, but this is also what puts these into pairing mode. And then you have the 3 buttons located up top. You have the multifunction button in the middle, and then your plus and minus. And these 3 buttons allow you to play, pause, turn your volume up and down, and also have all of your track control. So you can do everything from the headphones themselves. Now, as far as the actual look of the headphones, now I think this is obviously going to come down to just personal preference. I've known some people to just not like this design at all, but I have always been a huge fan of this design, all the way back to when they had the original LP headphones. These headphones are just built like a tank. I mean, they're pretty indestructible as far as twisting and stretching them out and things like that. It is a mixture of steel mixed with a vegan leather, and the ear cups on these have a memory foam. So in my opinion, it is a very comfortable pair of headphones. They're not an extremely heavy pair, so it doesn't get uncomfortable across the top of my head. And I just don't necessarily have to worry about wearing these and doing anything to really damage them. Now, one thing I'm not a huge fan of, and I've never been a huge fan of, is the exposed cables that run on the inside part of the headband. Now this is what's running your audio from one ear cup all the way to the other. And just having those exposed cables, I think, just makes it a little vulnerable because anything can just grab onto it and clip it or cut it or anything like that. And if that does happen, you pretty much have a useless pair of headphones. So you are going to have to be a little bit careful with that. They also include the very small exoskeleton case, which shows you that this pair of headphones can basically just collapse down into a very small footprint. It fits into this case nicely, and while it's in this case, it's definitely indestructible in my opinion. You could just throw these things around if you want to, and I do like the way that they lay out the inside of the case where you can carry your cable, you can carry the charging cable. It just makes things a little more convenient. But speaking of that charging cable, I do want to point this out because although, you know, the other ones were released in 2017 and 2018 and they really haven't upgraded these much, one thing they definitely should upgrade is the charging cable. This pair still comes with a micro USB cable, which makes it really look dated compared to all these other headphones that use that USB-C cable. And speaking of the charging cable, battery life also makes these look a little bit dated, especially when you have pairs like the Sony and the Bose that are pushing like 30 or 50 hours. I've seen that on a lot of wireless headphones, and with this pair, you're only going to get around 14 hours on a full charge. Now, it does have a fast charge feature where a 30-minute charge will give you 4 hours of use, so that's definitely nice that this pair has that, but I really wish that it had better battery life just in general. Now this pair does have multi-device pairing where you can be paired to 2 devices at a time, which basically means you can be paired to a tablet and you can be watching a movie, and also be paired to your phone where if a phone call comes in, you can just easily answer it without having to switch from one device to the other. So I definitely like this feature, and there's still a lot of new pairs that don't have multi-device pairing. So this is definitely a plus to have them on this pair. Now, if you do decide to take phone calls with this pair of headphones, I do think the mics on here are pretty decent. Now, I don't think it's as good as a pair like the Sonys or the Bose where I feel like it's using, you know, newer technology to make the mics sound better. I do still feel like the mics are decent on here, so taking phone calls I don't think is going to be any issue, but you guys can be a judge by listening to a test here.
So here is a mic test using the V-Modas, and again, I think overall it's picking up my voice very clearly. And I really don't think that anybody on the other end of the line would have any complaints. But this is what it would sound like if you were to take a call. And so now here is the mic test for the crowd noise being played, but you can hear here. So this is what it would sound like if you were to take a call in public.
So now let's talk about the sound, because I feel like the sound on these have come a long way from when the original V-Moda headphones were released. Because when the original ones came out, they were a bass-heavy pair of headphones, they were boomy, and that's kind of what V-Moda stuck to for a while. But I think once they released the M100s, they started taking a more serious approach. They started cleaning up their audio quite a bit, making it more detailed and more focused on the mids and the highs, and not relying so much on having that really just overwhelming bass. And so that sound signature just kind of rolls over into this pair. Now, I'm not saying that this is weak when it comes to bass, but it feels a lot more accurate. It just has a tighter punch to it. I do think that this pair of headphones is absolutely made for listening to rock and metal. And the reason I say that is the mids on this pair I feel like are fantastic. Not only do vocalists come through clearly, but I feel like the distortion that you're hearing in electric guitars or the cleanliness that you're hearing in acoustic guitars are really brought out a little bit more in this pair. And same thing kind of with the treble, you're hearing a lot of details. I think everything comes through very cleanly, but I do still think that the overall tone of these headphones are still slightly warm. And I think they're doing that on purpose because it gives it more of a natural sound. And then when it comes to the soundstage and the sound imaging, this is another area where I feel like these do an excellent job. I mean, they definitely make me feel like I'm in a very large room. And I feel like the instruments and the vocalists and everything that are going on sounds really nice and layered, and you can tell where everything is coming from with no problem. So really my overall opinion is this. I think if you're looking at these as far as features go and battery life and noise canceling, yes, this pair definitely lacks some of the more up-to-date features. But if you look at them solely for a pair based off audio quality, they definitely compete with the more expensive Sonys or Bose. Even though the Sony and the Bose do go on sale for the same price as these. I feel like the V-Modas have more of a natural tone to them. I really love the mids that come out of these. And again, I love listening to metal and rock over any other genres. And I think this is where this pair excels the most. So guys, that is a quick video on the brand new Rolling Stones edition of the V-Moda Crossfade 2 wireless headphones. V-Moda's headphones have always been some of my favorites. I like that unique look that they have. I really enjoyed the sound signature that they have evolved into. And so this was just a really good opportunity to talk about one of my favorite pair of headphones just because they have a new Rolling Stones edition. But guys, that's my video on these. Thank you so much for checking out this video. Thank you so much for checking out all the other videos. And as always, make sure to stay tuned for more.